What may seem like a small act, like giving chocolate, can become a seed of destiny in the unseen realm. Nothing given in love is ever wasted. We live in a world that measures value by visibility, where acts that aren't broadcast or posted seem to fade into nothing. But in the spiritual realm, even the smallest gesture, if done in love, echoes beyond our comprehension. A piece of chocolate handed to a poor child may appear trivial to the eyes of men, but to the heart of God, it's a moment that carries eternal weight. It's a declaration that says, "You matter. You are seen. You are not forgotten." That moment of kindness becomes like a spark in a soul that had grown cold from rejection, pain, and poverty. The child may not have had food for days, but he tasted something greater, he tasted dignity. And that taste could be the very thing that awakens something deep within. It is not the grand actions that often stir the deepest waters, it is the hidden ones. The silent ones. The unrecorded ones. History has turned on such hinges. One act of love, unseen by the world but seen by the eyes of heaven, can set a life on fire with purpose. That chocolate was not just candy. It was a prophetic act. A seed of hope. A message written in sweetness that said, "You are not defined by your suffering." And from that small gesture, something began to grow in the child, a belief, a dream, a calling. He began to rise. And one day, when the world saw a leader, he remembered the chocolate, and the woman who gave it. That begging child was invisible to the world, but visible to destiny. The world saw a beggar. Heaven saw a king in the making. This is the divine paradox: what man overlooks, heaven often exalts. We tend to judge by clothing, posture, reputation, and wealth, but the eyes of destiny see differently. When that woman gave the chocolate to the child, others may have scoffed or walked past, thinking the boy would never amount to anything. He was dirty, poor, alone. Just another forgotten soul on the streets. But in that moment, a higher power saw something different. There was purpose buried beneath the pain, calling beneath the silence. The child didn't wear robes of royalty or stand in halls of power, but within him was the potential to shift a generation. The world labeled him a beggar, heaven labeled him a leader. His future was hidden behind hunger. His strength was veiled in weakness. But all it took was someone willing to look deeper, someone who didn't just see a problem, but a person. That single moment, that small act of kindness, reached into the soil of the child's spirit and watered something the world could not see. He began to believe he was more. The chocolate was not merely food, it was identity. It reminded him that he had worth. And from that worth, courage grew. Courage became action. Action became transformation. And the boy who once begged became the one who gave, the one who stood before nations and reminded them that greatness can come from the gutters, and that the overlooked often become the overcomers. Encounters that change lives rarely look supernatural on the surface. It was not a throne room, not a palace, just a street, and yet, destiny passed through it. This is the mystery of divine appointments. They don't come with trumpets or fanfare. They come disguised as ordinary moments, simple interactions, passing glances. That woman did not know she was walking into a moment that would echo through history. She didn't hear a voice from heaven or see a light from the sky, she simply followed compassion. She saw a child in need, reached into her bag, and handed over a piece of chocolate. That was all. To her, it was nothing more than kindness. But to the timeline of destiny, it was a turning point. We often wait for grand platforms to do something meaningful, but the sacred often moves through the simple. A street corner becomes sacred ground when love is offered there. The mundane becomes miraculous when purpose flows through it. She didn't need a title or stage to make an impact, she just needed a heart willing to act. And the child, he didn't need a miracle from the sky, he just needed to be seen. That street, that moment, that chocolate, all of it became part of a divine story. And in that story, a beggar was reminded of his humanity, of his worth. Years later, when he stood as a voice for the people, he didn't talk about the riches he gained but about the moment someone gave to him when he had nothing. One moment. One street. One act. That's how history changes. The lowliest soul could be carrying a call that will echo through generations. That chocolate was more than sweetness, it was a divine spark. We often walk past people thinking we understand their worth by what they look like or where they stand. But greatness does not always wear a crown, it often sleeps in the dust, waiting to be awakened by love. That child on the sidewalk looked like he had nothing, but within him was a fire waiting to ignite. And the woman who gave him chocolate may not have realized it, but she was striking the match. She saw his need, but she did not just offer pity, she offered respect. She gave not just chocolate but attention, eye contact, a smile. It was the first time someone treated him like a person and not a problem. And that act did something inside of him. It stirred dignity where there had been shame. It whispered to him that he was not a mistake. When others had turned away, she turned toward. That's the power of kindness, it has the ability to wake up the sleeping call in someone's soul. The child began to believe that he was more than his poverty. And as he grew, that belief shaped him. He carried it through the storms, through rejection, through hardship. One day, when he had risen to a position of leadership, he did not forget the one who first saw him. The woman's act became a memory he carried into every speech, every decision. She may never have known, but the soul she lifted helped lift a nation. That's the legacy of love. Nations have shifted through kindness that began in silence. The whisper of compassion can thunder through history. In the noise of this world, where power is often measured by money or might, we forget that true revolutions often begin in quiet moments. No cameras were rolling when she gave the chocolate. No applause, no headlines, just a small act of mercy shared between a woman and a child. But what the world ignored, heaven recorded. Because real power does not always shout, it often whispers. That single gesture planted a seed in the boy's soul, a seed that would not remain hidden. Kindness has the power to unlock something eternal. It can reach into brokenness and build bridges where none existed. That piece of chocolate was not wrapped in gold, but in it was the gold of human dignity. It reminded the child that love exists, even in a cruel world. And from that reminder came strength. The strength to dream. The strength to rise. And when that child became a man, he carried the echo of that whisper into places of power. He didn't rise to seek revenge, but to extend the same mercy he once received. That is the true force of kindness, it multiplies. One piece of chocolate turned into a legacy of compassion, policies that helped the poor, laws that defended the weak. A government changed, not by force, but by the quiet memory of a sweet, silent gift. That's the miracle of love, it doesn't make noise, but it moves mountains. She never gave to be remembered. Yet the one who sees in secret turned that one moment into a national awakening. The beauty of true kindness is that it seeks no reward, no recognition, and no applause. That woman gave chocolate not to make history, not to be honored, but simply because compassion moved her heart. It was a silent offering, unnoticed by the world, but not by heaven. There is a sacred power in the unseen, because what is done in secret, with pure motive, carries a weight that public acts often lack. She gave without knowing the impact, without expecting it to return. But in that hidden act, something eternal was released. The child she helped didn't forget. Her love became a fire in his soul, not because she tried to be great, but because she chose to be good. And that choice changed everything. He grew into a man with vision, driven by the memory of one person who showed him worth when he had none. His rise to leadership wasn't about status, but service. And the woman's act, done without fanfare, was spoken of from podiums and platforms, remembered by a nation that had no idea her kindness once shaped their future. That is the divine irony, those who don't seek greatness often leave the deepest legacy. She never imagined the child would one day speak her name with honor, nor that her small gift would help shape policy, education, and hope. But that is how the unseen works, it sows in silence and reaps in glory.